Hey Siri, give me H-Town Soccer.
Talking all things Houston Dynamo FC. This is the official Dynamo Theory Podcast. We are forever orange.
What up, H-Town? Welcome to another episode of the official Dynamo Theory Podcast. My name is Rudy. Today is just me and Cristian, because Rodrigo's out there enjoying living his best life, I guess, in Italy. Because, COVID is kind of over, I guess, Cristian. But hey, man, how you been, dude?
Good, man. Good. Just kind of, getting recuperated from last week. We had a good party, a good match, a good win. So, we're just getting back in the hang of it, just trying to get this over with. Not over with, but get the podcast recorded and, let the people know that we're here and stuff like that.
For sure, man. It was a busy weekend for sure. And pretty much as soon as the match was over, I was in vacation mode already. And took a couple of days. My wife had went in to get out of town for a bit. So we went to Austin, out of all places. Not that I'm not a fan of Austin, the city at all. I don't know. Just because I don't like the hills and stuff like that. I'm not a big, I don't know. I like my highways to be pretty flat unless it's like an overpass, whenever you're in the Beltway or something like that. But it was a good one. And then, went to the rodeo. So yeah, you're right. It just feels like there's a lot going on, at least for me. And obviously Rodrigo not being here says a lot. So some of us may be in spring break mode and being able to take a little bit of days off, man. You're probably, the only one working from us.
Yeah, well, yeah, these past 2 days I've been off, but we're gonna get back on the grind tomorrow. But yeah, it is what it is. It's spring break for some people, some people can't, así es la vida de pobres.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But let me just go ahead and tell the people. Yeah, let me just tell her where they can get at us, and then we'll get talking about the Vancouver game in Colorado. So you can get at us at Dynamo Theory on IG and Twitter. You can hit us up at dynamotheorypodcast@gmail.com for anything. There, you can find me at Cris Putalias. You can find Rudy at Rudy Segura 3. And you can find Rodrigo in Italy somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. Rodrigo at Rodrigo Segura 01. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
We were both at the game. We didn't sit in the press booth as we usually do, or as I usually do.
Yeah.
I took one friend and then two of my brothers and then my dad, and you took your dad as well. How was that?
Man, that was pretty fun, dude. Like, that was the second match in a row that I stayed with the supporters section, or in the supporter section with the search, I guess. If and it was fun, man. I think that vibe is so cool. This time though was much better than last, just because we finished off with streamers at the end. You even got yourself, pretty good video throwing a streamer. Maybe we should block your face in case MLS decides to find you. But no, man, it was good vibe. Got to see one of the goals on our side and got to celebrate the winning goal basically on the supporter section, and it was fun, man. I think we're getting we really want to get accustomed to the team scoring for sure. So, and winning, but my dad slowly has become a Dynamo fanatic as well. He kind of brought me into being a Chivas follower all my life, and now I'm basically the one kind of showing him the way of the orange. So it was fun, man, and I guess that's kind of what happened with you guys too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I took both of my brothers and my dad, and same thing, same thing. My dad made me a Boca fan, and I guess now it's my time to make him and all my family Dynamo fans. Well, one of my brothers, he's a little bit more into the Dynamo than the other. The other one just doesn't really, he's a sports guy, but not really too crazy about it. But whenever like we go to a stadium or we do stuff, he'll like join. But my dad, he really liked it. Obviously he'd never been to it. Like I think he's only been to a Dynamo game before this one, and we sat like on the other side or something. So like being in that whole environment with like supporter section and like drinking, like having not even a lot, but just having a beer here and there, and just that the whole environment. And then with the goals, even though we missed it because we were getting nachos. But
Yeah,
just
that
at
was
the
a
end,
bummer for y'all. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
man, that was such a nice goal too. Like I was there, and then like you heard the roar because like we were like just behind the like
Right.
basically the section, and then you heard like wow, and you were like, oh shit, we scored, and then like everybody just kind of went wild in the line and stuff. But I mean, it was cool. Then the streamer part at the end of it was pretty badass. Yeah, hopefully
I
they keep
think,
that going.
yeah, the only thing that was missing to make that night great atmosphere wise, apart from, the stadium to be a full capacity, we're not there yet. But just singing like Forever We Are Orange at the end would have been like, the cherry on
Right.
top. But it was still great. It was still great. And I guess, without further ado, we can start talking a little bit about the game of what we
Yeah,
saw.
let's do it.
I'd love to mention the fact that it's different to watch the game, especially in the supporter section, just
Yes.
because there's flags, everything kind of in your way of trying to actually
Like,
analyze the game. I think most of the time you're just kind of following where the ball is going. You're just like, oh, ball there, ball there, ball there. It's hard for you to kind of picture the entire field compared to like seeing it from up above or a TV or something like that. But hey, don't tell Paulo that how you watch the game on TV
right.
is what you see, because that won't be all that great with Nagamura, man.
Yeah, he's
But
not too much of a fan of those questions.
yeah, exactly. In my opinion, this is what I saw. Yeah, he don't go at him with
Oh
those
man.
questions for sure. But hey, overall, I mean, we saw the lineup. We can start with the lineup. The lineup, was close to what me, you, and Rodrigo kind of mentioned, in the sense of like we probably would see either Coco or Quintero starting. I referenced the fact that I wanted to see both of them start, and it did happen. So we came out basically all out attack to start the match, which again I had mentioned the fact that it was going to open up for counterattacks, and boom, Vancouver scores first, and everybody's kind of hitting a little bit of that depressed mode. But it was great to see the team, Paulo mentioned it, bend and not break, because they did a hell of a job of coming back after being 1-0, after attacking pretty much the entire,
Yeah.
15 minutes before the goal came. And they looked good, they were pressing when they needed to press. They were, holding ball when they needed to hold. And the goals were, we were saying, us being so close in our section talking to
Yeah.
each other during the match, we were like, the goal is gonna come. Like it's coming for sure, and sure enough, obviously Quintero gets that good setup. Well, it was all started by Coco, which right there you already have both Coco and Quintero being a part of the play that ended up
Yeah.
being the first goal. Coco sends it out. Corey Bear basically filters it into wide open Quintero, and Quintero, finished it nicely, which is a ball that some people have missed. So glad that he put it in.
For real.
And then, the second goal too was like a beauty. Obviously you have Sebastian trying to hold off a defender, but it ricochets off the defender and lands perfectly for Quintero to have like, you couldn't hit a ball better than how he hit it. Really clean. Honestly, like the way that I was sitting, it looked like it was, if it didn't go in the box, it was, I mean, in the goal, it was gonna go straight at me. But it was great to see that ball go in, and everybody's to go crazy with it.
So like you were saying, it's kind of hard to watch it from the angle that we were at, and just the number of distractions that you have, flags, beers, chanting, people watching. I always know if I'm gonna go like with the supporter section, I'm not gonna pay attention. So I try, but it's kind of hard. But let me ask you a couple questions though, that I kind of wrote down. So one of the things that I was just listening to Glenn Davis right now, which Derek was on. Shout out to Derek, one of the guys from Dynamo Theory, one of the writers. one of the editors. And they were talking, you know, about the team and stuff like that. And then Glenn Davis had Coco, right? And he asked him about the first goal with Corey Baird. And he said that they always they practice that in practice. Corey making runs and then Coco kind of sending through balls basically to hit him up in that open space. But what do you think about Corey Baird? You know, because a lot of people have been talking about how, you know, he's not really producing as much as we thought he was going to, or, you know, he's just not really showing up. I think that was like maybe the only thing he had in like 3 games that we can say, you know,
right.
He was very important in. But, you know, overall, what do you think about Corey Baird? Do you think he should start the next game? Do you think we give him another chance? Do you think we maybe replace him? Especially with with the new rumor of another winger coming in that could be a competition for that. And then you have Pasher. Who else do you have? You know, you have Memo maybe that could play on the right side. You know, what do you think?
So before we jump, I guess, a Colorado match, whether he starts or not, I think just looking at what he's done in the past, he's done what has been asked from him, right? I think obviously we had struggled to score, but defensively he was good at pressuring the opponent when needed and creating some sort of spaces, like how he did in the game number 3, right, against Vancouver. The guy, you know, he can be average per se, but I think it really is the role that he is playing. For a long time, he was a high up wing or even striker, and he could probably be a second striker to Sebastian if needed. But in my perspective, you always want to change, you know, the team around. But looking at what Nagamura has done, definitely is more of this is my team. I'm going to tweak the tactics. I'm going to tweak, you know, some of the positions. And with that, I feel like Corey Baird is probably going to start, you know, because he did very well throughout most of the game, doing what was asked of him. And Nagamura, I don't think that he has a big enough reason to sit him out unless it's an injury, basically, for the next match. And, the Dynamo did a very good job against Vancouver, finding, you know, exploding the wings with Fafa. Obviously, is going to get most of that for sure compared to Corey Baird because of the speed that he has. But they complement us very well. That now we just need to see if they can be more dangerous in the box and, you know, have an assist for Sebastian to score his first goal in MLS.
I agree. Usually I try to find something to maybe kind of, you know, bounce off. But no, I agree. But here, let me hit you with this, though. So on the chat, you know, the Dynamo Theory chat that we have, somebody had mentioned about, you know, how, you know, Paulo Nagamura is already a lot better coach than Tab Ramos because he was able to figure out that Quinteros is probably the best player on the team, and he started him right away. You know, right. In comparison to Tab Ramos, he
shout out to Sack.
Exactly, yeah. Shout out to Sack. He mentioned that. He pointed that out. But here's my question to you. So we've been seeing in this past 3, obviously it's only been 3 games, where the first 2 we played kind of defensive, I guess you can say. You know, we sat back a little bit more. And then on this one, we decided to go a little bit more attacking. And that's where we saw Coco and Quintero come in, you know, from the beginning. So my question to you is, do we go Coco, Quintero every single game? Or do we, you know, if you were Paulo Nagamura, you know, which I think we might have an idea what he might do, but, you know, because he literally prepares for every team differently. You know, he kind of like sees what they do, how they're going to come in and da-da-da. You know, if it's going to be a harder team, da-da-da-da. blah, blah, blah. But he's going to, you know, he sees how the team comes in, and then he kind of prepares his starting 11, you know, in accordance to what he's going to be against, right? And then obviously Vancouver wasn't a great attacking team, therefore you don't have to be so defensive. So he went Coco Quintero. With a Colorado coming in, And also, Glenn Davis had Marcelo Balboa on his show.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, and he
I
does,
think we should try to get him just because I want to talk to him, to be honest.
right?
Anyways,
He's
go on.
Argentinian, isn't he? Or like,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. So Marcelo Balboa does commentary or an analysis. I was gonna say analysis. He's the one of the analysts for Colorado. So they were talking about that, and then he asked them, about Colorado playing style. What would you describe it as? And he said consistent, right? And then if you look at Colorado's last matchups, so the first one they lost to LAFC 3-0, and then they played 2 at home. They beat Atlanta 3-0, and they beat SKC 2-0. So obviously they're a good offensive team. So my question, I guess, after all that is, do you start Coco and Quintero again, or do you go back to your defensive, just kind of wait it out, bring in Quintero towards, second half and go back to your, Memo, Seren, Vera trifecta, I guess.
So obviously compared to what you saw from Vancouver, playing at home, Real Salt Lake as well, we said back playing at home, which it was the first game, there has to be some kind of icebreaker. Playing against Sporting KC, you knew you had to play defensively. You don't want to go out there and get destroyed. So, taking that 1-0 loss makes sense. Vancouver comes in and you have to play more attacking. That's why you bring those 2 guys, right? You're not trying to disrespect any team, but you do know which ones are weaker in some aspects and that you can explode. Colorado is, it's a very good team. They have a very good players. Their coaches, it's funny because their coach is a lot of a defensive-minded guy, which is kind of like what Paulo kind of reminds me of, but ideally you want to come, attacking early on. So seeing Conco and Quintero wouldn't shock me, but Colorado, even though they were, pulled out of, they were trying their best to try to make it far into the CONCACAF Champions League and rested a bunch of players and played them early during preseason against us, actually, when we ended up winning 3-2. And so they've been struggling to hit all cylinders, but they're consistent enough and they're going to get better as the season goes along. Therefore, you're going to see probably a more conservative Nagamura, whether it be he only plays Coco to start and maybe you see Memo out there and then, like you said, maybe put in Quintero in. But at the same time, you have to see it as a team. Just look at what's his name? Michael Barrios. The guy played with FC Dallas for such a long time. For whatever reason, this guy loves to score against the Dynamo. And I don't think that we have a lot of players that can match up to him. To, Mark Anthony Kaye is another guy that is very good in the midfield. So I think he's going to try to keep possession. So he's probably going to play a little bit more conservative. And that's Nagamura that I'm, talking about, basically.
And then let me ask you, okay, so then moving on. So I guess we can say that we'll probably, if we had to guess, we'll probably see either Coco or Quintero going, not both at the same time, right? And most likely Coco because he's the more defensive one out of the two.
Well,
right?
And he's the one that can give you more minutes at a consistent rate, right? Because, Quintero is definitely more of a high revolution guy, so hence why he gets kind of tired more, faster. Now, obviously, he's 10 years older than Coco is, so you have that as well.
That's crazy. That's a big difference. All right, so let me hit you with this. Obviously in the summer, or not even, I'm tripping. In the summer, no. In the winter, we went out and we got Sebastian Ferreira, right? You're, at the time, he was the biggest signing in club history, or I guess money-wise, he still probably is.
It still is, yeah.
How HH is, but, HH will beat him by the name alone. and it's been 3
Bigger
games.
salary for sure.
Yeah. And then, Sebas, 3 games in, I don't think he has had a shot on goal. Maybe if he has, it's probably in the 1 or 2 range. I didn't pull up those stats. When do we start worrying about that? When do we start worrying about, is he going to be a Mahamic? Is he going to be like, I mean, I doubt it, I doubt.
So
but
here, I guess I'll go with what you're saying. So obviously, again, we saw the patterns of game 1, game 2. He was very basically sitting on an island, not really getting anything towards him at all. Now, game 3 was a little different. He definitely had more touches on the ball. He had to come back sometimes too far that it left him not necessarily in a good space to, make a run towards goal. And the time that he did have the ball, he looked nervous in the sense of like he was overthinking it, if that makes sense. You can see it definitely on that second goal. He was trying to parry off a defender when he had an easy pass. He could have technically gotten that assist to Quintero, but he was trying to do a little too much. And I guess it worked out in the end because, we got a golazo out of it for sure. But do you start worrying about when do you start worrying about Sebastian? This game is not going to be an easy game. So I don't expect him. I feel like this game is going to be closer to that Real Salt Lake game. It's going to be very kind of standoffish for both teams. So it'd be great to see a chance, created for him and that he can put away. Because, again, he's going to start getting – the more minutes that happen, the more he's going to overthink a lot of his actions. He needs to get an assist or he needs to obviously score a goal would be the more ideal aspect of it. I had called him – he was going to, be our lead scorer by 15 goals. I think you had said 20.
Yeah.
He can do it. He can definitely do it. Right now, it looks a little bit, it's 4 games in. So he needs to score a lot of goals to kind of make any of those. But again, I think it's this last game, they definitely looked like they were having more fun. I know that's something Derek even mentioned that maybe Glenn and Eddie were talking about during the broadcast that obviously we don't get to hear during the match from where we're sitting. But yeah, they just look better. Like I think that whole chemistry is getting better. But then this is the kicker though. Then you have Thor that comes in for Sebastian. And the kid looks like he's just playing, not scared, like nothing to lose. This guy got drafted, which, is not, what's it called? For people to make it out of the draft is very difficult. That's where I was going with that. If you get drafted, even you get drafted like top 5, that doesn't mean that you're going to be like an amazing player in the MLS. So, where Thor got drafted, he definitely have a lot to prove. And I think he just comes in with a different look to his game. And it's funny because you see him in this past match, he got, he subbed in for Sebastian and played striker. And the other ones, we've seen him play more of a winger or, right mid, I guess. And still kind of have some pizzazz to his game. So the argument now is who's going to score first? Is Sebastian going to score first or Thor going to score first?
Man, yeah, that's true. And that's a good question because, every time that you see Thor come in, he seems like he wants it. I mean, I'm not saying Seba doesn't want it because, he runs his ass off too. But, he just didn't have a lot of chances in the beginning. And now, like you said, the players feel more comfortable. I think everybody's starting to I think we still also starting to find our starting 11. I've never seen a team or like a coach, I might be wrong, but I don't remember like a coach switching the starting 11, depending on the rival. Because at the end of the day, you have to play your game, not your rival's game. Right. Because at the end of the day, like, it's like you have to, and put that fear in them for them to be scared of you. And now you kind of prepare to their game. I don't know if I make any sense.
which makes a lot of sense to what, Nagamura has mentioned, that we have 17, 18 starters. And he's
Yeah.
proving that because obviously, Hidavy basically got a few minutes, at the end of the game. And we haven't seen him when he was such a influential, player in our defensive part of the field once we paired him with Tim Parker. And then obviously you still don't have Seka playing or starting. Griffin Dorsey, he's been playing good. That
Yeah.
he didn't lose his place after injury, and he still played very well this match. So it's good to see the internal competition is happening, and that Nagamura. And again, I was gonna say Nagamura is smart enough to see that, but I don't want to necessarily poke fun or a stab at our past coach that didn't maybe get the aspect of the competition aspect of it, right? Because you do have to see it as like we do have 17, 18 starters, because otherwise, like it happened in the past, Tim Parker knew he was going to start no matter what,
Yeah.
he and everybody else behind him, whether it be, Alejandro Formayor or anybody, playing that center back position in the past, was just kind of going through the motions, because he knew that no matter what he did to impress during practice, it was never going to happen. And I think that's very motivating for the squad. And we can see it, it was a very important win for the entire team. Even though maybe Sebastian didn't do much, of other players didn't get a ton of opportunities. It was great for them to all go and celebrate it as a team with their coach, because I think they all can sense that they will eventually get minutes in the first team.
Well, I mean, I guess the good thing about this year is that we do have the U.S. Open Cup, so that's going to give a possibility for these not second string players, because at the end of the day,
right.
So, but also I have another question regarding that 17, 18 starters thing. But yeah, so the U.S. Open Cup is going to give a possibility to these guys that are not starting consistently to maybe get a few minutes there and be able to prove themselves. Also, obviously, now that we have Houston Dynamo FC, that's going to give them also an opportunity to maybe come up and try to compete with those, first team guys. But I have two questions regarding this whole, like one of them is about
17.
17, 18, right? So one of the guys on the chat, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Dustin, he basically said, if you have 17, 18 guys, it doesn't mean that you don't really have a clear starting 11. It doesn't, it could be a good thing, but then again, it could not be a good thing, because that means that you can't really like tell apart the good ones from the not so good ones. I mean, that sounds bad, but
Well,
the competition is good, but
and that's the reason why transfers are still going to happen, right? Because that it's not a cookie cutter answer, because not a lot of people say it. So it's good that he's saying it, because that's what he's seeing. And again, from the 3 matches we've seen, the team has looked very good under Nagamura, right? Even with the results not necessarily being in Houston Dynamo's favor. But at the same time, you're leaving open that 17 to 18. That just kind of, also tells the people, like, you have to be competing for the job, because I still have a couple, ham and gam that I'm going to be using on a player, and this international, roster spots are available. So there's still time, or, a room for improvement, if that makes sense. So, whoever I bring in, maybe my starter now. So, just letting you guys know that you guys have to work extra hard. That's the mentality that I would do. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you're used to seeing, when a team, and I think that's a big reason too, whenever a team is not necessarily solidified, right? If you see, Real Madrid at his best, you knew exactly who was going to play every day.
Yeah.
There may be 1 or 2 changes. If you saw Barcelona, same thing. You knew exactly who was going to play, and unless there's injury, you plug and play. Now you see, and that's a good example with Barcelona. They have had such a drastic change in the last couple of years that their starting lineup is not necessarily like set in stone. And I think that's kind of where we're at. This is the point that we're evaluating players. The team staff is evaluating players, so they need to see every single player and understand. Okay, I have out of this 18, if one guy gets injured or if I need to change this tactic, then this is who I put in. Till you have your own player that you like, it starts to narrow down. I think you maybe go from 18 to 15 to 13, and then surely enough, you're starting lineup. But I don't think we're there yet.
And then talking about, starting lineups, how do you feel about the starting 4 in the back? Because a lot of people have been talking about, teenage and, the fact that, he is a DP or, he's in that status of DP money wise and stuff like that. And also the fact that Tim Parker has been doing a lot better. I can't really like complain about Tim Parker too much. He has been really good defensively. And obviously Steres, when he came in, he came in with some questions attached to him. And then, obviously the preseason wasn't probably the best one that he had. But, in these past 3 games, he's been pretty solid. There's not a lot of complaints, honestly. There's not a lot of mistakes. It's a different player from preseason. Preseason, I had a lot of worries. And myself, I would have questioned it 2 or 3 times to start him. But now seeing him now and then seeing the way that he competes or, the way that he plays and the way that he like handles himself, I don't worry as much. So the question basically is, how happy are you with this starting 4, with, I guess we can say Dorsey. I think Dorsey has beat out Valentin, unfortunately. And then, you have, Lundy, I think is the only solid. Well, Lundy and Parker are the only like solid of that line of 4.
Right.
And then, Steres and Dorsey. But, having a couple of players outside kind of not waiting to come in, but also fighting for that,
like starving to come in. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're chopping at their lips for sure to get in.
So what do you think about that?
I mean, again, and we've noticed this, right? We've only gotten scored 2 goals in 3 games. The team and one of them you can't even really call much of a goal, which was in the sense of like the way that it was just bouncing around. This last one, the one that you're talking about, Steres, was the one that basically had fault that he got beat to that corner. Yeah.
Yes, but no. Because I just rewatched the goal like 3-4 times, and yes, he did get beat. But then you can also blame Tim Parker because Tim Parker had a view of the player, and Steres had it behind him. So
and I mean that's. That's an overstatement in my part because at the end of the day, that was a very good ball that the homemade plays on Cavallini. Like, when we saw it in like, real time, and we're like, how the hell did he score that? Because he was so close to that front post, and the ball even ricocheted from the post, I believe, and went in. So it was a very tight goal to begin with. So not necessarily a full fault on Steres by any means, but he was the one on that side that you could see as, I guess, somebody that you can do a scapegoat on, right? But otherwise, the team, man, has looked good. Again, tactically, it's good to see that, when we play Griffin Dorsey, we expect Griffin Dorsey to go up high in attack and try to do crosses. And in the opposite side, Adam tends to kind of sit back a little bit more, and it kind of becomes like a line of 3. And then when we've seen Sadik Valentin play, Valentin is the opposite. Valentin kind of like they push him high, but the one that really goes up and down it's Adam. Really, he gives more of that liberty, just because Sadik is better in possession with the ball and tends to do a good job of passing. We haven't seen much of Seka to say much. I'm assuming if it's calculated correctly, he may give you a good mixture of what Sadik and Griffin Dorsey provide, right? be able to attack, kind of go high, do some crossing, at the same time be able to be fast enough to get back into position when beat, and being able to play off your center backs. The big difference, and I know it's not necessarily part of the line, but I think we should touch on the fact that Steve Clark has been great for us, man. And I think that's a big reason why Tim Parker and Stetis have been thriving the more they are, the chemistry gets built. Just because of the way that Steve Clark it's a full professional. He knows his position very well. He's very talkative, communicates where he wants his defenders to be on the field. And so I think that has helped Nagamura, fine tune and organize defensively. And it's good to see. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about two things. I was thinking about, I listened also to the City of Football podcast, the Dynamo podcast, and the guy, Garrett Heinrich, I think is the guy that hosts it. He had he had Asher, and he had Pat
Olmsted, right? Yeah.
Yes. And one of the things that they talked about was about, bringing all these players, building the culture, and then they started going into statistics. And one of them was about Steve Clark, how Steve Clark usually, the percentage of goals against, he usually would beat that odd. So like he usually would, beat, like they would give him a number and then he would beat it. So obviously that meant that, he helped, in a way, his team win in a way, because he would let, the expected goals were a lot less than what they had projected on him. So obviously we're talking with a really good goalie, and we have seen, only, I know it's a collective, thing, but obviously when you look at goals, you just look at the goalkeeper, and 2 goals in 3 games is not really a bad, like you said, not a bad number, especially when one of the goals was kind of, crappy in a way.
Right.
And then the other thing about the different styles of status and teenage,
right?
Because teenage, I mean, if you kind of look at him, he's kind of reckless.
Yeah,
he's very
key word that defines him, and it's good and bad, right? Reckless offensively, you don't want to go up too high, and then reckless defensively because you don't want to get a red card. And I think he plays that fine line, very, very well. And I think that's the reason why fans fell in love with Hadavia pretty quickly, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we didn't have anything like that kind of stood out defensively like that. Somebody that was just like wild. He's like a wild dude. Like, but then you have Steres who comes in as a more of an appropriate center back. Just a tall guy. Well, even though teenage is tall as well, but
I think he's like a positional. He's like a very positional center back.
Yeah,
like he plays where he needs to be. Basically, he's not the fastest guy, so I think he's very good at his position on the field. That's what helps Stetis a lot.
Do you have a preference?
I mean, right now, Stetis is being the guy. So, and I mentioned that, Rodrigo is the one that said game 1, Stetis is starting. Like, don't be shocked. Yeah. And we were all like, what are you talking about, dude? Davy's going to play. But it made more sense, especially the more you actually, listen to what Nagamura was saying in his interviews. It just seemed like he was leaning towards Stetis for whatever preference. And I'm a believer that if a pair of center backs is doing well, there's no reason why you should change them. So as long as we don't get destroyed by Colorado, Stetis is probably going to continue to play, till something else happens.
I'm talking about, the possibility of getting destroyed, which hopefully doesn't happen. But, they do have a bunch of players that, fit that description of being able to destroy a team. Rubio, Barrios, Esteves, or the Brazilian guy that's been like putting all the passes for all these goals.
Sanchinki, I can't pronounce his name, but I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, give me your, let's talk about some predictions. What do you think we're gonna look like after,
First of all, I have to
Sunday
say,
night or Saturday afternoon?
if you listen to this podcast, great. I hope that you keep listening to our podcast. But secondly, if you watch the video and you see my camera just like flinging and everything, definitely because I'm not in my usual space that I record in my laptop. So it's kind of just funny trying to hold the camera steady. But I feel like
Cramping.
I'm in like the way that I'm looking at, especially with the bare, color wall in the back. I feel like I'm a nautical that just got caught, bro. And they're like counting my kilos over there in the corner. And like mugshot left, mugshot right. Yeah. Anyways, but that's official for you guys that maybe watch the video more often than others. But yeah, man, let's talk about results. I think I don't want to quote all the way back to when we did like the preview of the seasons, because I think at the end of the day, like it's progressive, right? The so far, I don't want to toot my own horn, but so far I've been good on all the ones that I called out. So, I think I'm the only one undefeated in our predictions as a Dynamo Theory staff, which is great. So I hope that I get this one wrong this time, but I think just because of the team that we're playing, I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to call. I hope that now that they got a taste of goals, that we get a few goals and we don't go goalless. But maybe I was going to say 2-2. I'll say the draw of a 2-2 would be a good, 4 goals in one match. It'd be good to watch for sure. Not the result we want, but I think a result against a very good Colorado Rapids team.
That's funny because I was gonna say 2-2 too. 2-2. Just because
everybody wants to be a winner like me. I know, right? I got you, man.
We all want to copy you. No, but for the same reason, I think now that we gotten a taste of what we know what a goal is like, I think we're gonna be able to put a couple in. But then also the fact that Colorado's a really good offensive team, and then you have Barrios, who it's almost a definite goal right there because he loves to score against the Dynamo. And then just because they're a good team. I mean, I think Colorado has been one of those teams that quietly is like kicking everybody's ass in a way, like one of those teams that like,
I mean, they finished first, like in our conference last season,
and nobody ever thought about that.
And nobody would have put that. Everybody was waiting for Seattle to wake up, and I mean, they kind of still are because they started kind of slow again this season. But Colorado it's proving that they're consistent enough that they just, like anybody, most teams, you don't want your team to get hot in the beginning of the season. The Dynamo have been that. We've gone and oh my God, we're in like third place on the table. Look at us, and then we're crying, at the end of the season because we were at the top 3 of the bottom of the table. So you want your team to get hot at certain times, but we need to continue to get points before what is his name, Daguinho gets in, and obviously Ache gets here in the summer, and there'd probably be 1 or 2 more guys that come in before that. So you want to be able to be consistent, pick up points consistently. Right now we have 4 points out of 9. That isn't the most ideal, but it isn't terrible, right? I mean, there are stretches that we've gone 0 out of 9 for way too long type of thing. So, getting some points. I think right now we're sitting in 7th or 8th, I think 8th place or 9th place actually in the table. And again, it's just the beginning. Don't freak out, but at the same time, just don't think, man, look how we played against Vancouver. You got to kind of realistically see that Vancouver is also a team that struggles, and bad match, we were the better team out of the sucky ones, So we have to kind of be realistic enough that, don't expect for the Dynamo against Colorado, right? But it's going to be a good match for sure. Like I said, don't expect it to be boring, especially because Barrios tends to love to score against us.
For real. Yeah. Well, since we already have a prediction and and everything, let me just go ahead and give a quick shout out to the boys from Houston Dynamo FC, who had the last preseason game against North Texas. Palomino put that in. Palomino coming in as a captain. So even though we really wanted to see him with the first team, I think he's thriving in Dynamo FC, and I mean,
It's
who
good to
knows,
see for sure. Yeah.
maybe somewhere in the middle of the season, we might be able to give him a few minutes in the first team. Who knows, but then so Palomino put one, a penalty kick, and then Papa Ndoye, another player that actually went on the preseason with the first team and had a good game in one
That
of
was
the
a
preseason
Colorado
games.
match, I think. Yeah, I think it was against Colorado, actually.
So he's one of those other players that to keep an eye on. So shout out to those guys to finishing off with a victory, and then don't forget their first game is going to be March 26th. So actually, almost a week from Saturday, and they're going to be playing Whitecaps FC2 at 8 p.m. at Aviva Stadium, and more than likely, I'm going to be there. It's a Saturday, to check out that first game, and they're going to be playing obviously 24 games, 12 at home, 12 away. And it's gonna be a good thing to go watch. Keep those young guys, kind of out there. So everyone how they're coming up and all that. So, yeah. With that being said, let's.
I get jinxed. We're going on the orange talk again because I feel like that kind of backfires. But we're hoping to still do more orange talks in the future. But if you want to make it to the game on Saturday, we do have a giveaway going on our Instagram page. So make sure to follow us on Instagram, obviously Twitter as well. But the giveaway is on the Instagram. So just follow the instructions and you may be a lucky winner to be a part of that great atmosphere that the Hustletown supporters do. Hopefully we get another big win and more streamers, tend to land on you. Some people don't know how to throw streamers. I got hit with a few that weren't open, and I was like, "The heck just happened?" So we're new to this, right? We're new to the streamers and getting goals to start the season, and of course, it's been a while since streamers were a part of the Dynamo, but it was good to see. It's good to see. So if you want to be a part of it, make sure to check that out, man. But yeah, connect the people, man.
Yeah, so you can get at us at Dynamo Theory on IG and Twitter. You can send us an email at Dynamo Theory Podcast at gmail.com. You can find me at Chris Putalias. You can find Rudy at Rudy Segura 3 and Rodrigo at Rodrigo Segura 01. We hope to have him back next week. But for right now, he's enjoying his ice cream and his pizza.
Yeah, he's over there eating some gelato.
Gelato.
And some, probably they say pizza's funny or something too. But
pizza.
But yeah, guys. Hey, thank you guys. To all our fans and all the Houston Dynamo fans that listen to us. Don't forget to hold it down and keep it forever orange.
Deuces.